Hello, and welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica. This show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. Today is Wednesday, the 4th of August. It's great to be doing another show with you. Today's topic is 3 tips to read like a professional voiceover artist. I'm excited to give you these because I think they're really going to help you. And if you practice these on a regular basis, you are going to be set. They're good. They're a lot. It's a lot easier said than done, but I'm excited to give them to you. Real quick, before we get started, please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. Also, once you subscribe, hit that bell for notifications when I go live or post a video so that you know. Also, today we're highlighting the conversational voiceover course, how to learn to speak in a conversational tone. So that's going to be below. That link will be below if you want to check that out, or you can go to avosjourney.com. Okay, awesome. So let's get into these 3 tips to read like a professional voiceover artist. And why I chose to phrase it this way and say it this way was just because I think that, there are so many voice actors out there, and, with great technology, audio is, getting better and better and easier to afford to do. And so that and AI is more prolific. I think that acting is our stake in the sand, right? Acting is what we need to be really good at no matter what. So I want to give you these 3 tips that I think are really going to help you. All right. The first thing I want to talk to you about is learning how to finish a thought, the phrasing when you read. Okay. I notice this happens a lot with new voice actors. They struggle, and it's usually with breaths, but they struggle finishing a thought. So basically, like when they're reading out loud and they're reading a script, there is a thought, an idea, a phrase. And when they're reading through that phrase, oftentimes because they're not comfortable, they're new to this, they might struggle with their breathing, they pause in the middle of that thought. And because they pause in the middle of that thought, the phrase sounds weird and awkward. It doesn't sound natural. We don't get the full meaning of it. Okay? So that's tip number 1. Really work on your phrasing. Work on finishing the thought, the idea that's being said. An interesting way to practice this, it'll drive you insane, but for a period of time, I was working with a company where I was doing a lot of public domain books right back from the turn of the last century, from the turn of the 19th and 20th century, right? During 1890s to 1920s. And I did books that were financial books. These people wrote 7 sentences into 1 sentence, right? A paragraph was a sentence, and it was all one thought. It was the style of writing. It was a style of speaking then. Things weren't short like we do now with texting, right? So I had to work very hard on trying to work, say those phrases correctly, be able to get through a thought, an idea without pausing, because the pauses didn't make sense in the context of how it was written. So for us, it's very important that you practice the phrasing, learning how to finish that thought. Okay, that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, master the matter-of-fact read. This is probably one of the most understated and one of the most important reading styles that you can master. It's that matter-of-fact read, because the reason why this is so important to be able to do and to do well is because, remember, we are most of the time, it's not our job. Well, and completely it's not our job. It's not our job to tell people how to think. Okay? Our job is to present people with a story, to present people with the options and let them make up their own minds. What happens a lot of times is that we interject our own feelings about what we're reading, okay? And then that takes away from the person who's listening. It takes away from their ability to make up their own mind. okay, for them to come up with their own ideas and their own thoughts about what we're saying. And that's why people love listening to that matter of fact, that type of read where it's like, hey, I'm presenting you the information. This is the way it is. It's very clear, concise, the way I'm saying to it. I'm still telling you a story, but I'm not giving you I'm not telling you how to feel about a part of a story, an idea of the story. I'm just relaying that information to you in a pleasant way to listen to. Does that make sense? So mastering the matter-of-fact read will set you apart from a lot of voice actors, okay? So that's number 2. Number 3, which is by far one of the most, I think, not talked about, but should be talked about the most, I think, is studying the story arc. Studying how a story is told. Okay, one of the coolest people I've ever met was Scott Brick, and when I did a coaching session with him once, and I paid him, and I was the coolest thing is behind him. I mean, he had shelves and shelves and shelves full of books, and these books were how to write, how to the structure of a story. He's a student of that structure and how it works. And the reason I think that's so vital is because the more you know how the structure of a story is done. Same thing with Sean Pratt. I love Sean Pratt as a friend. I've studied with him multiple times. He's a great coach and teacher. But he does the same kind of stuff, right? It's understanding the arc of a story, the way a story is told, learning how it's told so that you can then tell a story in the way that we all will understand it. Does that make sense? So you've got to teach yourself. You've got to learn. Get some books. Go online and really, again, start to study. Going back to our days of school where we were learning a plot diagram, right? And the inciting incident and the rising action and the climax and the falling action, and the conclusion. You know what I mean? The composition, all of these things that, we learn. That's how we are trained at a very young age to tell a story, to learn a story, and to understand a story. Okay, that's ingrained in us from the days where we were dancing around fires as cave people, as cavemen, all right? Telling a story about how we, hunted down the saber-tooth tiger, all right, and almost killed us. You know what I mean? You have that, right? If you go back and learn about Aristotle, right, and how Aristotle talked about, all of the different things with acting and drama, okay, and how that plays into what we do in real life and bringing that to the stage, or in our case, bringing it to voice acting. All of these things make you a more well-rounded person to telling a story and becoming a professional, all right, a practitioner in what we're doing, which is voiceover acting. Listen, everybody, I hope this helps. Please take a moment again to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to further your learning, I've got a great conversational voiceover acting course. Put a link below in the description, or again, you can check it out at avosjourney.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. You have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. Goodbye. Goodbye.